I will begin my speech in 3, 2, 1. Speaking from the perspective of opposition, we oppose the idea of applying student loan mechanism in Indonesia. We reject this idea. While this might seem beneficial from the proposition perspective, we are not thinking about how this is actually one of capitalism way into trapping you to be in a long-time debt. From the perspective of proposition, being in long-time debt is better than not pursuing or receiving tertiary education or a bachelor degree that is required for job. You see, to begin with, this is a very wrong mindset. Let's imagine getting your first job only for your salary to be taken or to be cut off for student loan that you need to pay beforehand. Even if you have urgency needs, even if your dad gets sick or any members in your family get sick and you need to quickly pay for it, but you realize, oh, I still have student loans to pay for. Especially with UMR, as an average monthly salary in Indonesia, the student loan mechanism will not work. Because with the UMR itself is not enough to cover daily expenses. This is causing graduate students unable to fulfill their needs, whether if they have a job, even if they have a job. From the reasoning that we've come up with, we strongly disagree of implementing the mechanism of student loan itself because this is risking people to be trapped in a long-time debt. Propositions say beforehand that students are able to pay off their loan after they got a job. But if you think it through, this is one of the ways capitalism is trying to take control of your life. You could be 40 years old and working your bones off, and still your student loan has not been paid just yet. Because with student loans, there's no doubt that the university will hire up the tuition itself. Because why? Because we have the access to student loan. So university will make their tuition as expensive as it needs to be. Second, middle-income family are required to pay. From the proposition, they say that middle-income family are required to pay and how not even a lot of things are covered for them. They are still considered as people who could afford things and cover basic expenses. That's why, of course, they are expected to. There are many universities that offers payment reduction. So this is making this middle-income family easier to pay off their children education or help their children pursue tertiary education, such as university or college. The proposition also says that scholarships are limited. Scholarships are supposed to be limited. That's why it's called scholarship in the first place. Even if the point of scholarship being limited assumed to be one of the reasons why we should apply the student loan mechanism, we still firmly oppose to this. Why? Because this pushes students to achieve it. Scholarships are deserved for those who try, for those who work hard enough, and they are deserving of it. With the existence of student loan, this is creating a thinking of why do we need scholarship? Why do we need to be disciplined? And why do we need to be hardworking when we could take a student loan? This is decreasing the amount of trying in education and in our generation, especially with now already happening how generation are unmotivated as it is. And let me be absolutely clear with my arguments. We oppose to this for a reason, such as A. Trapping low and middle class people or trapping low and middle income students into a debt, B, while student loan might work for many countries, it's impossible to implement this in Indonesia. And last, we need to remember that even allowing student loan is unnecessary when low-income family is already provided with multiple services such as KJP, BUMN, and KIA. And these reductions are still reasonable. These people could still afford it because they are supported through these services for people who are in low-income family. And as to be clear to my first part of A, trapping low to middle-income student into a debt, this is as clear as day because even as they graduate, they might not get a job immediately, and this debt will constantly haunt them for the rest of their life until they get a job. Even if they get a job, with the constant demand from their parents expecting that their child should be working, should be covering expenses for them, they're not able to because this money are used to pay off the student loan. And you see, the problem with student loan, you could be how many years old, as long as you have not paid it, it will still be there. And this is causing a really bad impact, especially with our country that is already as bad as it comes when it comes to economy. So we challenge proposition to change their mind, because while it seems student loans give many undergraduate access to university or college, this is costing their financial freedom later on when they already have an income. This doesn't only take someone a couple of years to repay debt because it lingers longer than they need it. And you see, this is a huge problem, especially with student loan mechanism being applied to Indonesia. It's not going to work as well as you might think it is in USA or in a couple of countries that generally has more higher paying jobs. In Indonesia, we could barely cover our basic expenses with UMR, which is around 3 million to 6 or 7 million in general. While living in Jakarta might cost a lot more than that, especially to pay off rent and such if you're not living with your parents. So again, I'm very proud to be standing as opposition, and I fully oppose of this idea of student loan mechanism being applied in Indonesia. Thank you.